Welcome to the Being in Medicine show. I'm Corey Anderson.
And I'm Jeff Mars.
Together, we aim to revolutionize the healthcare experience for patients, clinicians, and all team members by unlocking the transformative power of human potential.
Each week, we explore with you and our guests how embracing our authentic selves and choosing who we are being can affect the nature of healing, leading to profound transformations in our lives and in the lives of those around us.
Join us today on a journey through self-discovery and empowerment as we unlock the human potential within each of us.
Welcome back to the Being in Medicine show, where we explore the deep connections between mind, body, spirit, and leadership in healthcare and beyond. Today's episode is a powerful dive into personal and professional growth, because leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become. Our guest, Ken Altenbach, is an executive and leadership coach who works with high-performing executives and emerging leaders to uncover blind spots, elevate their leadership presence, and unlock meaningful, lasting growth. Ken doesn't just offer advice. He creates a candid, transformative space where leaders can face hard truths, elevate their vision, and take bold action. Fun fact, Ken's coaching style is so impactful that many of his clients have cited career-defining transformations within just months of working with him. Please join us in welcoming Ken to Being in Medicine.
Welcome, Ken.
Hi, Corey. Hi, Jeff. Pleasure being here with both of you today. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being on. Hey, we both know you. We've had the opportunity to get to know you pretty well over the last couple of years. And in that last couple of years, you have been the facilitator and a leader in the Being in Medicine Mastermind. Tell us, how did that come to be? Why was this of interest to you? And what's your role been? And just tell us all about it.
Yeah. So as all three of us are aware of the Being movement, it was started a few years back based off the book, The Ultimate Coach, where Amy Hardison, the wife of Steve Hardison, the Ultimate Coach, a book reading club was created, and I got myself involved in that. And there was a Facebook community that was created by Eric Lofholm. And during that Facebook community, and as it was growing, there was something that was called bingo, where if you volunteered and you wanted to be part of that, you put your name in, and the facilitator of that would hook you up with somebody that you don't know to connect. That's what it was all about, was just about connecting. And I had this one bingo connect with an awesome person who happens to be part of our Being in Movement Mastermind, Elizabeth from the UK, Elizabeth Adams. And we had a powerful connection. And she told me her background, and I told her my background. And somehow the conversation got to be like, how can we bring this into the medical world? It was a very, very powerful conversation. So that was about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. And she happened to tell me about you, and she told me about Corey. That I had to meet both of you because you guys had started this already a long time before this discussion between me and Elizabeth. And she says, I need to connect you. And I said, well, okay. It was right before the holidays. And let's take a break. Let's meet on the other side into the new year. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, listen, Elizabeth, you told me you were going to introduce me to Jeff and Corey. Is there any chance that we could do this? And she said, yeah, great that you brought this up, and great that you created this reminder for me to do that. And she reached out to both of you. And from that point on, we got into a group call, and we just got to learn about you. I got a chance to meet you. I got a chance to meet Corey. And when we had those conversations about what you two created in your own location, in your own hospital, man, the fireworks were going off for me. I thought, wow, we need to bring this into, our hospitals. And Elizabeth was saying the same thing. How can we do this? And we wanted to know from the experts who's already created that. And I believe at that time, you guys were already 2 years into bringing the being movement into your own location. So with that, we started talking. Who else do we know? Who else could we bring into this? From that point on, we were starting to bring people in. Some stayed, and some got on and said, this isn't for me, and decided to leave. But the core of us, the 6 of us that we're still doing that right now, we've been with this mastermind, and we talk on an every couple of week basis, and to see what it's like. What can we do to bring what Corey and you brought into to your location? And it was awesome. And people were getting excited, and all of a sudden it just blew up into, well, we need to do this and we need to do that, until we had to slow everything down. And the main thing that we needed to do was that we needed to create awareness. And you two had the opportunity to be invited to go to Birmingham in the last Ultimate Coach that was held over there in the UK, to talk about that. And again, you did it in Arizona to create awareness. So that's how I became involved in it. And what showed up for me, and the reason why I wanted to do it, I've shared it with the group multiple times. My wife was she worked in our local hospital here before she retired after 39 years. And hearing the stories that she brought back about what was happening with, from the higher ups all the way down to patients. And I've experienced that myself when I was a patient, when I went to go visit, when I had doctor's appointments. And I said, man, what can we do? Years ago, I wanted to bring leadership into it because that's what I thought it needed. How everybody can work together, how everybody could communicate and hear one another, because that was the biggest problem. And then, of course, we learned about what you brought to your hospital, about what you created from what you guys experienced in the being movement. And we got all excited about that. And with this mastermind, we slowed everything down. We're talking on an every couple of week basis. What can we start doing, and what we can bring it to the world and make awareness, and including this podcast, which is totally awesome. So I went on and on and on about it because I'm getting excited, and I know I need to slow myself down about this. We'll go into a 2-hour tangent about that. So I'll stop right there.
Well, we love your excitement, Ken. We appreciate you being here and sharing your backstory. So we're lucky to have you, and thanks for being here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that, Corey, because I'm so happy that you two, and the rest of the doctors and the nurses that are part of this here accepted me, because as you all know, I'm an outsider. I'm not in the medical profession, but I'm so excited and see the vision of what I can help bring to the medical world as a non-medical person as well. So thank you for accepting me and helping me grow inside of your world.
Non-medical, inside, outside. I think one of the questions we have is who are impacted by medicine, and how might affecting how we are being when we show up in medicine and make a difference. So yeah, our group is diverse. Somebody who doesn't work in the medical profession, who's a fantastic leader and coach, and nurses and doctors from different countries. Mm-hmm. These different people, we all got together and created a document and went through a process. Can you tell us about that? And first, if you'd be so kind, most of our listeners probably have this context, but maybe some of our new listeners may not. What do we mean when we say a document? What does it mean?
A document is a living, breathing document that you are declaring how you're going to be. And as you said, we did it together as a team. We did a team document, and all of us that are in this group, we have our personal I am document. And that's who you want to show up to be every single day in every aspect of your life, as a husband, as a father, as a brother, as a leader, as anybody that you want to be and how you want to show up. And we learned this from the Ultimate Coach, Steve Hardison, and from the book of Amy, and learning how to do that. So the being in medicine, we created it together as a team, because we're not individuals part of this, and we cannot be individuals, because otherwise it would just go off into a tangent and everybody has their own way, and it would just fall apart completely right away. So we spent some time you, me, Corey, the other members that are part of this mastermind, we spent some time. We did some refining. We did some brainstorming, and we created our own Being in Medicine team document. And this is what we all agreed to, how we plan on showing up for this mastermind to take it out beyond the mastermind and into the world. It took us several months to do this. Any great thing that you create takes a while. It's something that cannot be created overnight. And I just want to let the viewers know as well, too, just because we created this is not set in stone as far as this can never be changed. This is a living document. Things that are coming up, things that show up in our world that we're not aware about right now, we could bring it to and change it or add to it. And this is what we do in our personal lives, who we are being. You brought this up, and I would ask if it would be all right if I could go ahead and share the Being in Medicine team document and what we're all about.
Absolutely. We'd
Okay,
love to have
awesome.
that.
Okay. This is the Being in Medicine team document. We are a team of one. We are a group of talented professionals sharing a common vision. We are creating the future of medicine. We are Being in Medicine. We are a diverse group of creative, experienced, and supportive friends. We are equals with our own unique superpowers. We are our best selves. We are fully present and ready to participate. We are courageous in speaking our authentic truths. We are respectful and courteous. We are powerful listeners mining for the gold in everyone's shares. We are powerfully creating our world, our way of being, through intentional, with precise speaking language. We are always striving to understand and to be non-judgmental. We are understanding of others and their points of view. We are committed to taking powerful action. We are creating an environment for growth. We are always powerfully serving with love. And I just can't, guys, that how many times I have read this in our team meetings and whether in the beginning or at the end, and how much chills that runs through my body every time I read this and I share this, because it's just not about me. And I share this with the viewing audience to let them know this is how we all came together, and this is what we created, or who we want to be as representatives of being, representatives in Being in Medicine. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to read that.
Thanks for sharing that, Ken. That's a real declaration of our group and how we show up for each other in our meetings as a way to serve each other, but also as a way to serve medicine and transform it through those declarations. So it is a great dynamic of people who work together with intention, and that document really demonstrates everything that we show up to be. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. I just wanted to add on to, just to make sure it's perfectly clear. These are not just words on a page. These are not just words on a page. These are transformative words that help each one of us grow for ourselves, so we could take it into the world of medicine and have them experience what we're experiencing when we read this document, when we experience this document.
That's beautiful. And I agree with you, Ken. The chills, I get inspiration bumps every time I hear you read it. So thank you for serving us that way. And I love how you use the distinction declaration. It's not necessarily just descriptive, looking into the past, but rather declarative, looking forward as a place to come from. And I think it would be our goal that if anybody were to look in the room and see us working together as a team, even without hearing the words, the presence would be the living of that document. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So I got a question for you. You said at the beginning that initially you occurred to yourself as a bit of an outsider in the world of medicine. And I have an understanding that recently you've had an experience with a very close family member. And I wonder if you would share that. And in particular, have you had any shift in being in medicine that changed how you showed up for that situation?
Mhm. So thank you for asking. And the very close family member was my father. And just give you a little backstory on that. I'm not ashamed to share what I'm about to share with all of you. You both have heard it already. My father was not in my life. My real biological father was not in my life at all. He's been in and out of prison ever since I was a newborn, and I remember meeting him a couple of times in my life, and I just didn't want anything to do with him. My mentality was, well, if you weren't there for me all my life here, then why start now? At the age of 53, 7 years ago, my brother had contacted me and said, I found dad. Okay. And I said, okay, you found dad. All right. He's living in Michigan and he just got released from prison up there and he's on parole right now. Would you like to know where he's at? Would you like to be in contact with him? And I said, not really, but I'll think about it. And somehow, some way, God has been working through me. Maybe I didn't know it at the time, but somehow I wound up being in a prayer group where my dad was there and didn't even realize it. Honest to God, I said I'll join it, and my brother formed it, and then my dad was in on that prayer group, and he reached out to me, and this is your father. Would you like to have a relationship? And I found out at that time I had a half sister that lives in New Jersey, just about 3 hours away from me. And he contacted her and she contacted me and said, what are you going to do about dad and everything like that? And I said, well, at this time I might have been having a shift in my being and didn't even realize what it was. I might give this a shot. God's working through me. Who I want to show up as a son was working through me. And I was probably learning some things about, I can't take the past and create my future with that. So I said, sure. He lives in Michigan, and he came down. We had a fantastic relationship here. He tried to involve me into some deeper theological studies, which I was not even prepared for at the time. I mean, he was so deep into it and all that. And I said, I have to drop out of this because, it sounds like you guys study this day in and day out, and I'm not ready for this. I can't, I'm just getting into my spiritual journey now. So, but once a week we would call each other and we would talk about the past and we would talk about, the things he did in his life and the things that he did and I did in my life. And we shared that. And I guess love blossomed and I wanted to see him. My wife and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary by renewing our vows, actually having a full wedding again for our 25th anniversary, and invited him, and he flew down and became part of that. Mary fell in love with him. My wife fell in love with him, and he fell in love with my wife. We've been inseparable since then. My dad, although he had this type of life, he was a Christian. He became a Christian in prison, which was an awesome thing. Who he was being a child of God, and he was bringing that on to me, and he was helping me grow in that as well. So we started making arrangements. My brother moved from Virginia down to Florida, and my sister stayed over in New Jersey. And I was the only one closest to him to where I was able to go visit him. He absolutely, after that plane ride, he refused to do it again. He said, if you want to see me, you're going to come up to Michigan to see me. So Mary and I decided that, we will go ahead and visit him once a year. And we visited him 2 years ago and had an awesome time. And we visited him again this past summer, right before his birthday, right before his 80th birthday. And I had to leave on his birthday. Because I had another function I had to go to in New York, and so we spent the time up there with him. So on the way to this other function in New York, I get a call from his best friend. Now just to set the stage here, I just saw my dad 2 days prior. Everything was great. Everything was fine. Man is getting ready to turn 80 years old, and we kid around a lot. And he says, Dad, you're going to be 80. He goes, yeah, sometimes I gotta see at my ID card that I'm really, really 80 years old. That's the kind of person he was. He didn't act it. He didn't think it. He wasn't being 80. He was being 45 years old, which I loved about him. So I get the phone call from his best friend. He says, your dad had a terrible accident. He fell and hit his head. And that was it. And the guy hung up on me. Okay. So I was 1 hour away from my destination. I said, well, okay. It didn't sound really, really serious. So I continued on and went to the hotel room. And then I got a call from the neurologist surgeon saying, hey, listen, your dad, he had a bad fall. He fell on the left side of his brain, head, and damaged his brain. But he's coherent. Everything's fine. And I said, do I need to be there now? Because I will come. They said, no, everything's fine. Okay, so great. If something would have happened, I would just packed up, went back home and going up there. The next day, on my way to this coaching retreat that I was going to, I get another phone call. Things took a turn for the worse. He created blood clots. And his entire left side of his brain was all blood clot. And he went into, I guess, a coma. He wasn't responsive. We need to do emergency surgery right now, right here. Because if it gets worse, he's going to die. And of course, I asked all the questions. If we don't do this, can it wait to get up there? He may die before I even get up there if we don't take care of it. And then the next question was, hey, listen, if he does do this, what are the chances of something might happen? Of course, they can't tell me everything is guaranteed. There might be an opportunity that if we get in there, something might happen. He might pass away from this. So right away, I packed up, went back to the hotel. Mary went with me. We went back to Pennsylvania, came to my house, packed up, and we left to go back to Michigan. We just were up there 2 days prior. So now we're heading back to Michigan. When we got up there, feeding tube, not responsive. They did surgery on him. They relieved some of the blood. It was a very dramatic situation to see him. The man stands only 5'6", and his head's smaller than mine. To see his head being so swollen because of that. How it happened and what we found out here, he was out celebrating for his birthday, for his 80th birthday, the night of his 80th birthday here, and he fell. And he fell on the concrete and hit his head. Okay. Wow. We thought there was some kind of foul play or anything like that. No, that's what had happened. So he was in the one part of the hospital there. Come to find out what had happened also too. The neurosurgeon called us up and said, I made a mistake. I cut into the wrong side of his head and opened up the wrong side of his house and realized that, we went into the wrong side of his head. I'm telling you that now. And so that when we get up there, which I commend that surgeon for doing that, because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to tell me that. And it was a lady and she was owning up her responsibility. And her reasoning was that it was such a fast moving thing that we had to make a decision. I just made the mistake and I just did the wrong thing and then went back into the other side. They relieved the blood clots inside of his head. While he was there, we decided to stay. Well, I had to stay now because he had cats in his apartment. So I had to stay to make sure someone was taking care of the cats. I visited my dad every single day. There was a nurse there, and I'll never forget this gentleman here. He was so kind and so compassionate. And every time we called multiple times during the day, even into the night, early into the morning time. And he was always there to either share it himself or make sure someone was there to share how my father was doing. I mean, we felt really, really comfortable. And then one day they said, well, we have to get him out of here and put him into another hospital because we did our thing here. We can't do no more here. We need to move him out of there. A little scary situation. So we came back home. After a week, we came back home and I got the call that they moved him and I needed to come right back up again, right? Because things were not going well for him. His blood pressure kept dropping. The feeding tube was not accepting. It wasn't accepting. All kinds of things were happening. So we went back up there again. And then, to be with my father, to let him know that we love him, to let him know that we were there praying over him, just letting him, because no other family was there for him except Mary and myself. Came back home again because we couldn't do anything anymore and there was nothing else to do. 2 days later, got another call saying, hey, you guys got to make a decision. Okay. Wow. In this new hospital, the decision is that You can do what you're doing right now and put him in a long-term care facility, and he'll be like he is now, but he is failing. His organs are failing. Everything is failing, is on him. Basically, you need to make a decision. So I called the family up, and I talked to the family, my brother and my sister. What is the best thing we do? We chose to go ahead and let him pass away comfortably. I want to share this about why it's so important about who you are being in medicine. The second hospital, it was like pulling teeth trying to find out what was going on with him while we were here. They made us feel like we were bothering them. Sometimes they wouldn't even come to the phone and said they would call us back. It got to the point where I was demanding someone give me a phone call and tell me what was going on before I come up there. I don't want to be surprised or anything like that. It was just a total difference. Now, I will tell you this, the second hospital, the night my father passed away, we did this for him. We prayed over him. I sat next to him. I went into the room with him. I forgave him. I always forgave them before I let them know that it's okay to pass, that it's all right to go be with God and go be with your brothers and sisters. And while we're waiting to do that, I'm going to play Elvis for you. And I played all kinds of Elvis songs. And one of the nurses came in that night, and the gentleman made us cry and just started talking about the history of why he loves Elvis. And he spent maybe an hour with us before we left, because he wasn't passing yet. We went back to his apartment. And then we got the call like 3 hours later. But the difference about who you are showing up to be, this is a family member, and dying family member. Of the care we got from the first hospital versus the second hospital, you could see it was night and day. It even got to the point where the second hospital dropped the ball as far as VA coverage. Everything was taken care of on the first hospital, but the second hospital never followed up with the VA, came back to us and said, hey, guess what? Your dad's responsible for all these bills that he's about to get here. No matter what we did, no matter what we said, we had the CEO of the second hospital. What can we do? We did what we were supposed to do. The hospital did what you do. It's basically we dropped the ball, and there's nothing we can do about it. The VA won't do it. So that's the story. Fortunately, not showing up mad, not showing up, I'm going to sue you, not showing up that kind of a person. We put it in God's hands, and everything is fine now as far as his medical bills go and everything like that. It went really, really well for it. So I wanted to share both sides, because I want people to understand that, you can run it into any certain kind of person here at any given time, but you got to be made aware of it. And as a person that you're observing it, what can you do as a leader for yourself? And what can you do as a leader to maybe help make things better for the next person that's going to wind up being in their care?
Yeah.
So thank you for allowing me to share that.
Thank you, Ken. That's a remarkable story, and with so many things that we can follow up on, and just powerful from a patient standpoint, from a family standpoint, as interaction with the providers and facilities. It was very, very powerful story. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
What would you follow up on, Corey?
Well, I would love to. There's so many wonderful parts of there. One of the things I'd like to go back to, just walk back through the story, is that experience with that first surgeon, who you were showing up as in that conversation, who you chose to be in that follow-up conversation with her. Tell me about that. Tell me what that interaction was like.
Great question. First of all, when she talked on the phone, the first thing I said, hey, it's unfortunate that this happened. Very first people in today's world, we all know that, especially you guys being in the medical, if something goes wrong, I'm going to sue the crap out of you. Guess what? You're going to go down for this and everything like that. My brothers and sisters encouraged me to do that, to go to do all that. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do that whatsoever. First of all, yes, it was a mistake. We're human. Everybody knows that. We don't know if that was a part of the reason why he passed away. We don't know that. Okay. But why, she explained to us, and she was very, I thanked her. I said, well, I even told her, I said, you could have hid this from us. You could have told us something totally different. We didn't even know this was going on here, and you chose to do that. That's a remarkable person that does that. Even though that she was putting her her practice into jeopardy. You know, she didn't know if we were going to turn around and sue her, and probably most people would have done that, and she would have had to face that. But when I talked to my brother and sister, when I was showing up who I was being here, Dad put himself in that situation. Okay. The way he was being that night where he felt he had to go out and celebrate here, I'm not going to blame somebody else for something that he did to himself. Okay. But who do I need to be as far as for my father is? Yes, he made a mistake again in his life here, but I'm not going to chastise him. I'm not going to sit there and, belittle him and, this is what I told you this was going to happen. No, I showed more love. Absolutely showed more love. And I showed love to all these people that were the surgeon, that person that night, that lady that told me that, that she made the mistake about it here. I'm not out to do that to her. People make mistakes. You're not a robot. You're not a machine. And I need to understand that. Corey, 10, 15 years ago, absolutely. First reaction, money. I'm going to sue the pants off here. But that's wrong with the world here. If you're going to show up that way, okay, how could you help change that? How could you help change the world one person at a time? How could you do that?
Yeah. So you chose to show up with love and show up with forgiveness. You were being love and being forgiveness in that experience of medicine that you had. And convert, and then reciprocal for that, she also showed and was being accountable and being courageous and being honest and transparent, right? And that's who her being was coming across to you. And that sounded like a remarkable experience that you had with her in a very trying moment in your life.
Yeah, it went a long way with me, man.
Yeah.
It absolutely went a long way.
Yeah. That's a great demonstration of how you're showing up has an impact on those around you, and how you're showing up can change the experience for people just based on who you are choosing to be in those moments.
Yeah. Key word, choosing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Choosing.
It occurs to me that your entire story is really imbued with forgiveness, going back to the relationship that you had with your dad, which was there was no relationship, and the restoration of a relationship, which, although not explicitly stated, was an expression of forgiveness. And when you said that when you went in, it was time to let your dad pass, you forgave him, and you had always forgiven him. And here you are forgiving a human being for making a human being mistake. So you were showing up as forgiveness all along. And it seems to me that how you show up as forgiveness is basically creating miracles around you. Is that part of your personal document, forgiveness, or what is that?
Oh yeah, I am a loving and forgiving person. Now, Jeff, it is a document. It's our declaration. Okay. Do we live this moment to moment to moment every single day? No, things come up. But if you go back to your document and you living that document here, you're going to stumble, but you're going to come right back to who you want to be. Okay. Yes, I was showing up that way because I was being an example. I wasn't saying that to myself. Well, I need to be the example so other people will follow this, and so things will be a lot smoother. For other people, I didn't have that in my mind. It was just I'm living my document. I am a loving and forgiving person. Right. I am loving and forgiving person.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So it's a declaration, as you stated, who you are for yourself. And when we say choice, the way it occurs to me is you already made that choice once a long time ago. Who I will be is forgiveness. And you're right. All of us human beings can find a million examples of how we aren't living into our intention. And it does not change the fact that actually is our intention. Your intention is to be forgiveness no matter what. So when that happens, when you have an intention of being forgiveness and we make a mistake because we're human beings, then we forgive ourselves as well. Right. How does that show up for you?
Yeah. I love how you said I forgive myself first. That was so difficult for me. Okay. Right. And I think I shared it with the group before, but I had no problem sharing it here. It is my story. I was mentally and physically abused by my mother for almost my entire all the way up into my teenage years until I moved out and got married. Okay. Hardest thing to do, man, when you're going through that, they don't deserve forgiveness. And you're thinking in your mind, how can I kill? How can I kill? Or how can I hurt that? We're going through that in our minds and stuff like that. I had to learn how to forgive myself first for not forgiving the people in my world. I mean, that was difficult. I didn't understand that. Well, what do you mean I got to forgive myself? This is not my problem. I didn't cause this. They caused that. But I forgave myself for not forgiving myself, for not understanding, to the point where, wow, there's a reason why that she was this way. It could have been her childhood. It's the understanding of, yeah, I forgave her. I didn't have to like what she did, but I could also forgive, but I forgave myself. Maybe, forgive myself that I didn't do this a long time ago. I had to live with this turmoil. I had to live with this stuff inside of me. I was coached so many times because of this, until I realized, until I forgive myself, I can't forgive anybody else in the world. I cannot do it. And I'll take it one step further here. I can't expect anybody to forgive me, even though I want them to forgive me. I can't expect that as well. So it starts right here.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Brilliant.
Beautiful story. If I can't forgive another until I've forgiven myself, it sounds similar to love. I can't really love another until I can love myself.
Right. How do we show up, man? I mean, look at, I mean, you show up different. You may not realize it, but people notice that. Okay. I'm not walking out into the world right now and said, guess what? My document I'm reading, I am loving, forgiving today. Get ready for me. You're not showing that. You're not saying those words. You're acting the way you're declaring yourself to be, and people notice that. And then you want to know why, how, what can I do? And that's the beauty of all this. Yeah. You are the exemplar being person, as best as you could be every single day.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Ken. Those words are golden.
Thank you.
What else you got, Corey?
Well, I would like to walk through that, because when you're describing the two different hospitals that you experienced in your most recent experience, and showing up for you and how they show. So they're showing up being compassion. You said compassion, and the nurse that you experienced in that first hospital showed a lot of compassion and talking and being available. They showed competency and knowing how to communicate with you and helping guide those decisions and so forth. Right. And so when they're showing up as compassion and competence, what does that do for you as a family member in that situation? How does that create that experience for you?
Yeah. So great question on that. First thing that it does, it shows one of my documentation, one of my declarations in my I am a great listener. Okay. When someone shows up that way, I'm willing to understand, no matter good, bad, or indifferent or whatever, to understand, as long as I understand. If they come at me like, the other second hospital where it's like pulling teeth just to get some information out of that here, I'm going to be more receptive. I'm going to be more understanding. So I'm not going to attack them if something went wrong. I'm not going to make their life miserable, because that's, you showed up. So you showed up that way. You showed up with love and compassion and understanding to me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to repay that back to you. I'm going to give you my respect for the way you respected me. And Corey, so the insight I'm getting out of that here, at the second hospital, I still showed up the way I needed to show up, even in front of the people here that were really, really, it was hard to do that. But it was, if I would have showed up any other different, like, you guys are jerks and you should have done this here, not only it would have depleted possibly the care for my father, but it would have created something else for somebody else that was in that hospital as well. Yeah. Showing up forgiveness, showing up understanding, showing up the listening, understanding. Even my Mary, she was getting upset about, I can't believe this is happening. Hey, take a breath, calm down, It doesn't help you for being unforgiven in this moment, because you know what, they're going to just dig in a lot further. But if they see that you're not blowing up and you're not getting angry here, they're going to be a little bit more receptive to you, or more ways of sharing information to you.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that with your wife Mary and your
Yep.
siblings and those around you, when
Mhm.
when you're showing up being forgiveness and being love, and you're demonstrating those in the moments around your father, what
Mhm.
what did you experience with Mary? What
Mhm.
was that like for her? Like how did she experience you?
Yeah, yeah. So Mary, God love her, she went through the Ultimate Coach book reading as well too. And it took me a
Yeah,
couple of years to get her to go there, but she went to it. Okay, so she read the book. She read it several times. Uh, she said multiple times when people ask, what do you think about your husband? Is he's changed? And she'll right away, absolutely, things have been absolutely changed for him. Um, I've thought about this story. On the way back from New York to come back home to go back up to Michigan, my brother called me up, and he was livid at my
yeah,
father. He was livid. I mean,
mhm,
I can't believe he's doing this. I'll never forgive him for this and everything like that. And the old me said, I understand. I blame you for bringing him in my life. Now we got to deal with all that. And
yeah,
so, Brian, this is our father who we did not know. You introduced him back into my life here, and there was a reason to do it. By you being this way, dad's going to understand that you never loved him, or he's going to feel that you never loved, or he's going to have that understanding that you never loved. I know, my brother, that you do not mean this, and this is just emotions that are showing up for you right now. And I need you for going through this process with me, because this is the first time in our family that we're going through any of this together. Okay.
yeah,
Anything like that here. So Mary's experience that, and I'll never forget. And that, you brought up about Mary. How did she experience it? She goes, I would have never done that. I would have been a little bit more difficult with it about that situation here. But you handled it well. You
yeah,
did. It's remarkable how you handled that. You didn't get angry. You didn't blame. You didn't agree. You didn't take sides. You did it a wonderful thing the way you did that. So yeah, to answer your question, I want to get back to that. So.
yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I guess our being has ripple effects, right? It impacts those around us. And so when you are demonstrating that, others feel it, as we've mentioned, and others then see it, replicate it, send it back to you very similarly in that way.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah,
That's what you want, right? You
yeah,
want as the Bible says, as Jesus, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Well, do unto others what you want done to yourself here. I don't want people attacking me. I don't want to. So
yeah,
what gives me the right to attack other people and make them feel belittled and below me and all that, and make them feel that way? I don't want it done to me. Love. This is, God created us out of love. Okay.
yeah,
Simple as that. God is love. And as human beings, we need to act that way. We really need to be that way.
yeah,
And I'll tell the viewers, when they're listening to this here, you act this way, you're going to have so much joy in your life with other people around you. So much. You're
yeah,
going to have so much understanding, and you're not going to go through these arguments. You're not going to go through these defensiveness. You're not going to go through any of that. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I love who I am now because it's a lot better than who I was 10 years ago.
right. Absolutely. That's
Okay, I'm
great.
going to put you on the spot. What does being mean to you?
Hmm. I was waiting for this question. All right. And I'm not who I'm also being. I'm being transparent. Okay. I didn't know what this all meant when I first heard about this. When the book first came out, I tried so desperately to understand what this means. Who
Yeah,
are you being? What the hell does that mean? Being, okay. And then I think like the 19th time I read the book, and 2.5 seasons into the book reading, it finally clicked. It's a state of who you are. Okay,
yeah,
who am I being in the present moment? Not out in the future. I'm going to get to that. It's who I want to show up as moment to moment to moment to create what's happening with me now so I could be that person into the future.
yeah,
That's what being means to me. Being is an act of a state of something that I want to be in this world.
yeah. Brilliant. I love it.
So you're a coach.
I am a coach. Yes.
All right. Do you coach with being in mind? Tell us about your coaching practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when I tell you, well, who are you being in this moment right now? What are you talking about? Who are you being in this moment? I bring it into that because it gives me an opportunity as well to when they don't know about it and they want to know more about it. I got the Ultimate Coach book. I got volumes over here to give out, to send to. I've sent out ever since I started doing this. I send it out to my clients. I said, I'm not going to get into with this coaching call right now. However, I'll explain a little bit about it, what it is here. But here, I want you to read this book. This will explain it all. And I go through the whole instructions. And why do I got to read the back? Or why do I got to read the first 2 pages here? Because it'll explain what you're about to experience.
Yeah.
This is key in my coaching. I ask my favorite coaching question is everybody, who do you want to be in this moment? Who do you want to be in this moment? What do you mean? Okay. Well, do you want to be this person that's really upset? Do you want to be this person that everybody wants to see you as an argumentative? Do you want to be that person that sees you as a negative, or do you want to be a loving person? That's what I'm talking about. I love that question. And it's a favorite question of mine when I'm coaching.
Yeah. So in medicine, with your coaching and incorporating being, looking back at the experience that you had with your dad, what in that experience, what advice, what recommendations, what suggestions do you have for any of those folks or for anybody in that experience that you would recommend from a coaching perspective around their being? Was there any one incident that stood out?
There were several instances that stood out. I thanked the people that need to be thanked in front of other people. I purposely went to their manager and asked the manager to be present while I said, listen, this person, the way they acted, I will tell you this. It's because it's a direct reflection on how well you lead this organization or how well you lead this department. It's because of you. So in a sense, I'm thanking both of them, but I'm also giving everybody else around me. And when I was talking to the administrators on the phone, okay, about, the difficulty I was having, I said, understand what people are feeling. You give us the impression that my dad's just a number. I can't imagine who else that you are treating people like that. But if you just slow down and listen to what people are saying to you, you would have a lot more understanding. And I said this to the administrator, especially when this VA thing went nuts. And I had the opportunity to sit down face to face with the CEO and have an opportunity to talk to him. Said, listen, okay, you're the CEO of this organization. Okay. Yeah. This is not you sitting in your high chair. These things are going on here. Who do you need to be, or what do you need to do in order to make sure things start changing for you around? And you absolutely. I hear what you're saying. And, all the excuses in the world. I'm too busy. I got so many things that are going on. But going back to the original question, I do this not only in the medical world, where my father, I do this even at the hospital. I'm up here. When I hear stuff that is going on, I bring it out. Okay. Yeah. I hear people talking out loud in front of patients, how disgruntled they are and everything like that. And I just say, listen, you know what? You can have a better day. And this is how you can have a better day. Okay. Yeah. It's just the way I'm showing up. I'm not chastising. I want everybody to understand. I'm not out there pointing out their flaws. I'm just bringing out something that they can. Well, who's this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? So, but I purposely did that. And I do that everywhere I go, Corey. Yeah. As far as restaurants, if someone gives me good service, I love doing it. Oh my God, do I love doing this? I need to talk to your manager. Can you please go get your manager for me? And what is their first thought out of their mind? Right. Oh man, I messed up. Yeah. And then what is the manager thinking? Yep. What do we get ourselves into? Yeah. Right. What, what's happening now? And the very first words out of my mouth is, I bet you think that I'm going to sit here and complain about the service here. but I'm going to tell you, I'm that different. I'm that guy that's different because you're probably so used to hearing complaints about it, but you never hear about the good things that are going on. And I want to
Yeah.
commend you for what you did to have your server serve me so well. I do it all the time, anywhere I go. People deserve to hear that. They need to know that. Because that not only that's creating their being, the way I show up for them, it's wow, someone recognized it. I'm going to be extra this.
Right.
Medical, organizations, restaurants, churches, all those things. And I honestly, I live that every single moment.
Yeah. Who you are being is creating your experience.
Hmm?
Right. And so whether it's in medical or in any other area, how you're showing up has an impact outside of you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I don't know if it was Steve I heard this from, maybe years ago, and it always stuck to me. I think it was. I might have heard Steve talk about it in one of his talks or whatever. Who I am showing up to be for you is creating you.
Yep.
Okay. I am creating you. I'm creating both of you right now. What are you going to be taking away from this? Okay. Well, Ken showed up this way. Ken showed up that way. Wow. I want to be that way. I'm not saying you two because you two are excellent, because the way you guys show up for masterminds and everything like that. Like I'm ready. I'm wanting to go hit my hospital right away. Guess what I learned and stuff. So, but how I show up creates who you are. I honestly believe that.
Yeah. That's great.
All right, Ken, you're amazing. If somebody wanted to learn more about you or find you, get a hold of you, where would you direct them?
I'll give several phone numbers because, and I'll give him my email address. Okay. The email address is coaching. It's all one word, coaching to your success 2022 at gmail.com. First phone number is 570-271-1484. And here's my personal cell number, 570-912-5140. And of course, they can see me on Facebook. They can see me on LinkedIn as well. It's Ken Altenbach, executive and leadership coach as well. I give my personal cell phone number here because I want people to understand they can reach me personally if they want to reach me personally, that they won't be getting a machine every single time, but that's their choice. So
yeah, we're going to put that in the show notes. So that's a very big gift that you've just given out right now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd want to share with our listeners?
Yes, please. Thank you for that opportunity. The way I learned about being in the world of Steve Hardison, who is the ultimate coach. I was connected with so many outstanding people in this world. As I understand it right now, the Facebook group, the ultimate Facebook group, has well over 10,000 members who are nothing but loving, caring people who are out to help one another, help each other grow. There's so many things that are going on inside that join. Okay. It's free. Join it free. But also, too, I always have it by my side. Get the Ultimate Coach book by Amy Hardison. Okay. This is where I learned a lot about being. I've read it so many times. That's how I understood what being was all about. Not only that from the book, but from the people that are part of this group. You, Corey, our mastermind group, everybody that's involved in the Facebook group and the literature that's out there. I mean, this is grown so much, so exponentially worldwide. If you want to know about being, please read the book, join the Facebook group, the Ultimate Facebook group, call me up. I'll have a conversation with you. I don't have to coach you. I'll have that conversation with you because it's so fantastic. Again, my wife could tell if she got on this call right now here, how different I am because how I want to show up every single day. And my life, it's not perfect. Nothing would ever be perfect, but a lot more is happening for me because the way I show up for other people.
Yeah, that's great. Quick question, Ken. Maybe it's not a quick question. So we've talked a lot about being, which is what this podcast is about, being in medicine, right? How we're showing up in medicine. In your experience, in your participation in the mastermind, what would being introductory into medicine, or how would medicine be transformed by being?
Hmm. Being someone in the medical field is not solely the responsibility of certain people. You want to change what might need to be changed in your organization, meaning in your hospital, it has to come from the top all the way to the bottom, including the non-medical personnel. Who am I talking about? The patients.
Yeah.
This has to be brought in, like you and had Jeff done. You brought it into the organization, and you started talking about it. You started teaching about it, and more and more people want to know about it, which has helped transform your hospital from the top down to where the patients are experiencing who you guys are being at your hospital. This has to be done everywhere. Not just, well, it's CEO sits in his, the chair, and the high administrator sit in their chair. Well, this is not our problem. It's everybody else's. You have that attitude, you are never going to help your hospital transform into everybody learning about their being. It has to be, everybody has to be involved willingly and participating. They must do that. And it has to start from the top. If the top is willing to say, yes, I want to do this, that's the exemplar. That's the example setter. If I'm doing it, I want everybody else to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so passionate about it, and your energy can be felt through the way that you communicate about it. And your local hospital, we've talked about this in our masterminds, right? Just how important it would be from a patient experience standpoint, from a clinician experience, from a team member experience, the support staff, all of the experiences that will be impacted, and how just through discussion around being and how being can play a role in each one of those experiences, whether it's on the phone, in person, a surgery, a chronic disease that's being managed. All the experiences from all those folks would be impacted by just acknowledging and recognizing who we are being in those moments. And I love your excitement about it.
Thank you. I just want to say this real quick here. Elizabeth Adams, who's part of our mastermind group here, she takes it one step further. If we have the patients, if they understand the way of being and who they're showing up as a patient here as well, it could be, as she puts it all the time here, how the reciprocation would wind up snowballing. It's just not up into the medical staff. You guys are there. I mean, you are the heroes. I mean, without you, who knows where we wind up being. You have a lot of pressure on you. You have a lot of things you got to do. And we don't need patients coming in there and saying, fix me. And if you don't fix me, I'm going to wind up suing you and making your lives. It starts everybody. It has to. And she loves bringing that up every time we have our mastermind here.
Yeah.
And listen, if we could bring this to the patients as well, that would be critical as well too. So
yeah, Jeff does a great job of enrolling patients into their own care. And we've worked with nurses in our hospital who help enroll patients in their own care. We've worked on language on the patients themselves creating their own experience and talking to them about who they are being in their own care and how that will impact the long-term treatment for them. And so that's a beautiful part of the experience, is the patient experience. How is the patient showing up for their own care, and how they can create care that they want just by who they're being. It's a great conversation to have.
Yeah, beautiful example here. I'll say one more example with my own experience as well. When I hurt my back, and I had a nerve in, I forgot what they called it here. I went up and did my physical therapy. Okay. They showed me the things. They gave me all the documentation that, hey, go home and do this, because you just can't do it here for 20 minutes or 1 hour every 2 weeks that you show up. Okay. Who do I need to be? Oh, I cannot be just kind of every time I go there, fix me. I'm still hurting. It's your fault because you're not doing here. No. Well, who do I need to be? I need to be the person to help myself so I can go back to my physical therapist and say, listen, I don't need you anymore. And I don't need my physical therapist anymore, because I do it right here because how I show up. It's not their responsibility. They gave me the tools. Who do I need to be to follow that and take care of myself? So that was a perfect example about enrolling people into doing that,
Yeah.
the patients in doing that as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. Great example. Great demonstration, Ken.
thank you.
Yeah.
Ken, I really want to thank you for serving us today with your time and your wisdom and your personal stories and even your personal phone number. I want to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for being the masterful facilitator and a leader of the Being in Medicine Mastermind group. I want to acknowledge you for taking the stand for being everywhere you go, whether it be the restaurant or the hospital or wherever else it might be, to serve other people. You're making a difference.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge not only you two, but all of our mastermind and the Being a Movement mastermind. You said, you thank me for the facilitator. I am not this way because I'm doing it myself. I have all of you to help create the facilitator of being part of this mastermind. So I acknowledge each and every one of you, all the members that are part of this, the BIM mastermind. I wouldn't be who I am without each and every one of you. So I just want to let you all know that as well too.
Well, thank you, Ken, for being on today and really sharing personal stories that really have a lot of gold in them from every perspective of who our being is and who we're coming from. And so thank you for being part of our group, and thank you for sharing those stories with us and allowing us to learn from them. And it's a great service that you provided today.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for both having me on here. Thank you for being part of this movement here. And I just cannot wait to where this is going, to see where it goes and how many lives we could change one person at a time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken, for being on. And thank you, listeners, for staying with us today and learning from Ken Altenbach. And thanks, Jeff, for leading our discussion today.
Thanks, Corey. Thank you for joining us today on the Being in Medicine show, where each week we open the transformative power of connecting our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual nature to how we show up in medicine.
If you find this conversation valuable, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you or someone you know has a story to share, contact us at beinginmedicine.com. See you next time.